Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I'm your host, Alecia Jacobson.
Hello, my beautiful badasses. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are getting everything that you need right now. I'm going to make a good effort to not completely jabber on not because I'm doing it for the podcast. Sorry. I'm doing it for my bread because I have a very limited window today because, summer, my bread is ready. She needs to be divided up and I have carpool in an hour. So I got to get to it. Today, though, all right, let's back up. Yesterday, I went to Noah's Ark, which if you're not from Wisconsin, or maybe, I don't know, maybe people know about this outside Wisconsin, but it is a very large water park. And I do this once a year and I take my kids and it's fine. I don't particularly like water, meaning I very much dislike water. And I don't like being wet. I don't like what happens after you're wet. You're like itchy and it's just like uncomfy. And I made it through the entire time without getting wet. So that was delightful. And it went so well. I had my daughter, my oldest one brought a friend, and then my younger one. And they were all able to go on the rides together. And I was like, you know what? Because there was 2 dates that I had that I could do this. So I said, we can come back the second date because they had a blast. I have an Aura ring and it tells you your stress level. And I sent a screenshot to my husband because no joke, as soon as we arrived there, my stress was through the roof. They would never know it, but internally my body is like, what the fuck are you doing, girl? Go home. But I'm going to go back and it will be just lovely. But while I was there, I had kind of these 2 things that happened yesterday because I started my day with a coaching call, and it's someone who, I guess like anybody, making change is hard, and she's working with me. So clearly, if she's doing, coaching and health coaching specifically, she's open to change, but change is really hard. And when I was giving her sort of these like, where would you like to start? Because I was kind of throwing out these kind of options and it was sort of like, well, I don't know, and not making a commitment towards the change. And I finally was just like, listen, we are working together to work towards change. Change in and of itself is going to be uncomfortable. So this is not like a cakewalk, a walk in the park, a sunshine and butterflies experience the whole time. Do I do a really fucking good job of making it as painless as possible and we work with your life? Absolutely. But there's going to be some discomfort. Once I said it, she was like, oh, yeah, obviously. And then was just made the decision I was asking her to make and was agreeable to it. And we processed through it. But originally, it was like, you kind of come on this resistance. So that was sort of what got my mind turning on the kind of ability to create and make change, and how sometimes people don't realize that it's going to cause disruption. It's going to cause discomfort, and it's not going to be, doesn't have to be super hard, but there's a gap. There's a gap between where you currently are and the lifestyle that you want to have. And within that gap, you have to be different. And that's what I was telling her, is that we are creating change so that you can be different, but you can't be different if you're always being how you currently are. There is a gap that we're going to create, and you have to start stepping into that. So where do you want to start stepping into that app? Fast forward, I am then at this water park, and let me just preface this with, I have worked with enough people in the sort of health and fitness industry that are just assholes. Not a lot of them, but just some assholes. And you hear them out there on social media. So I want to preface this with, what I'm noticing is not coming from a judgmental place. It is coming from and then it kind of got me thinking about talking to her about, you have to be different if you want to make changes. It was so interesting to me how the kind of family units or friend group units that were walking around together, whether it be teen boys or just anything, just across generations of families, they all kind of looked the same. They all had similar mannerisms. Like there was one lady that was just jacked, and the rest of her family also just absolutely, like, you could tell they put a lot of time and effort into what they ate, probably their exercise, fitness. They're probably like the family that goes hiking on the weekends. Now, are all people that go hiking on the weekends, Jack? No. And I'm not saying that all families, like, if the level of exercise I do does not match the level that my husband does. But you could see, even down to, not that there's a lot of nutritional options there, but you could just tell some people were all walking around, it's Wisconsin, and they all had these ginormous beer cups. And it was like everybody with them, this was just what they do. And it got me thinking about a couple of things, about how you kind of are who you hang around. You are who, you've probably heard that quote, like, you are the 5 people who you hang around with, which I was kind of reflecting on this earlier today as I was planning out the podcast. And I don't really hang out with anybody, but I was thinking about, like, what do I do? And what I do is I go to a couple different gyms. I hang out with my husband, who, he and I are both very into kind of setting goals. We have our weekly meetings where we do goal setting. Kind of the people who I do hang out with are social justice type things aligned in that way. So kind of creating the awareness of, who are you growing into? Who are you wanting to be? Do those habits align with it? And do the people who you're surrounding yourself align with that vision? I'm not suggesting you, like, drop all your people unless they're bad for you, then you can drop them. But if you're noticing, like, oh, I'm really wanting to be, I'm wanting to eat better. I'm really wanting to start exercising. However, when I look around at my family, when I look around at my friend group, there is nobody in here who matches that, or whatever it is. If you look around, you kind of think who you want to be, and you look around and there's nobody that matches that description, that's a problem. And how do you fix that? And I'm going to tell you today. But first of all, just kind of creating the awareness of, it does matter who you're around, the conversations that you have, the type of activities that you do, the habits, all of those things will add up. Your habits add up to who you are in one way or another. They add up. This comes up all the time about aligning yourself with people and sort of stretching a little bit. So let's say you look around and you're like, none of these people match. Well, how do you make it match? How do you, again, create that gap, which is stepping out of that sort of circle, your comfort zone, and start finding people that you can go with? That might look like joining a gym that feels good. That might look like doing one of my coaching programs or something similar to that. It might look like, I know locally to Madison, there are running groups or cooking groups or hiking groups, all sort, foodie people. If I know that there's a couple women in my groups right now that dancing has been really something that has been on the mind of a lot of people. And we have found places that they can go and dance, and connecting with other people, other women who are doing those same things. Maybe you have business and career goals. Do you have anybody around you that is also driven in that manner? I know I've talked about, I meet with we call it goal getters. We meet monthly, and we have met monthly. I don't even remember. I think it's like 6 or 7 years now. But they are the people that I work with on that. And I used to have, when I had my gym, I had, a business coach, and all the people. I made sure that I was surrounding myself with the people, because I don't know what the fuck I was doing. Right. And that's okay. You don't have to know, but you have to have the awareness of, if I don't know how to do this, and I know that I want to grow in this area, how do I surround myself with that? One of the other things that's been on my mind lately is, I have wanted, it's on my bingo card, is pottery. and wanting to kind of do that. Can I do it on my own? Fuck no. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I found a studio and I can kind of start talking to people about that. I was at my son's graduation party and his grandma was talking about doing pottery. And I was like asking her all these questions and just putting it out there, knowing that these are the things that you want to do and start creating conversation around it, kind of remove the unknown, the scary from it, but also knowing it's going to be a little scary. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. You might walk into a room and be like, oh shit, what have I done? I mean, especially if you're like me, where it's like, I don't like doing new things like that. Walking into a new place, like I was supposed to go to an exercise class with a friend. And I had been nervous about it all week long. And then the morning of, I was like, I'm really sorry. I cannot, I don't want to, because I was worried I would see people I would know, which is so fucking silly. I mean, hello. But I was like, I'm not in a space right now that I can do that. But that is so, I mean, if I didn't have all my other gym places, that would be something that I would need to just fucking overcome it. You can't do that. If you're really wanting to be a different version of you, you have to overcome that. So finding people who can help you stretch this. Maybe you have an accountability buddy or a coach. I know that I said I had to hustle this up because I got my bread that I got to make. I actually found a woman on TikTok. Oh my gosh, this makes me so excited. I found a woman on TikTok. I've been following her. And then she says something about her, not like coaching, but I essentially purchased an hour of her time and we're going to have a video call and I can ask her all the things about bread because I follow all these people, kind of like if you follow like a fitness influencer or all these people and you don't fucking know. Or like last week on the podcast, I talked about health coaching. You can follow all these people, but when it comes to my bread, my house is a different temperature. I'm doing all these different things. So I can follow somebody and maybe they live in, a very cold climate or a very hot tropical climate and our climates don't match. Our lifestyles do not match. And it's not the same. So this is finding someone, maybe it's another mom or maybe it's another retired person or wherever you are in life, another person who wants to do a triathlon or anything like that. But finding people that you can start to surround yourself with and start closing that gap. Because if you still have your blinders on and you don't know, one, that there even is a gap, like if you're just sitting back like, oh, I wish someday I could do this. Well, fucking guess what? Those wishes aren't going to get you anywhere if you're just wishing away that someday, because guess what? Someday is going to fucking come. And if you haven't put any effort in, you're going to be the same thing you are now, the same version of yourself. You're not going to be any different if you haven't put in any effort into doing anything different. Someday is going to get here and be like, girl, you had all this time. The fuck did you do? What have you done? Right? I mean, think back of goals that maybe you had that you could have reached by now, but you were too scared or whatever the reason. Breaking it down and making these kind of small inches forward to close that gap and to just stick your toe in a little bit and get a little uncomfy in doing it and finding people that also can support you. I said my coaching groups, I have the women's coaching circle, and these are women that we've been together for two years now, this one of the groups, and they all support each other. Are their goals all the same? No, but they have aligned goals of we are bettering ourselves, we are bettering our families, we have health as a priority, and how do we get there? The messages to each other are just popping off all the time, and they are aligned in that way. Now, do they have other people in their worlds that they could probably do this? Yes, but do they have it as consistent as that? So if you're going to find somebody, out there in the world, make sure that you are aligned and we are fucking in this, not, sometimes you get I'm going to do this. The fad person that, that's like jumping on everything. If you know that they're not in it for the long haul, like you really want to be, that could be a little bit of that would just be sucky. And if you are actually doing this to then have to find somebody else. So pick your people wisely. And maybe you haven't met this person yet. Maybe they are in a class that you're going to join, or maybe they're online. I've suggested people, just like follow people and not creepy, not creepy out in the world. Okay. Not don't go follow anybody, but you will find your places. There might be, there's like, the book clubs and all sorts of things, but you have to be different. You have to make different choices. You have to surround yourself with different people if you are currently unhappy or not satisfied or just, stagnant, which sometimes is fine. I've had so many times in life where I did not need to do anything better, bigger, anything. It was like, I am just getting by right now. And maybe it's not even just getting by. Maybe it's you're really, really fucking happy right now. And you are happy with everything just as it is. We don't always have to be constantly improving. But if you are wanting to be different, figuring out, first of all, what is in that gap. And then how can you start adding new people in? I know I said I'm not going to get you to kick people out of your life, but if there are people that are sucking the life out of you or sucking your energy or just toxic in general, it might be, start paring back and start pruning a little bit and not having them involved, because that can be, a total game changer. I had to do that with a whole husband, because he was no longer, it was like all of a sudden one day my eyes were open and I was like, oh, this is bad. This is not working. And once my eyes were open, they were open. They were like wide open. And I had to be different. Was it easy? Fuck no. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. Would I do it 10 times over? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I had to be willing to step in to being uncomfortable and just trust myself, and that might be something too. I don't know what episode, but I have talked on here about how to build that trust in yourself and how to kind of gradually do that. But you can do it. It's just, building that trust in yourself and doing it solely. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to, when I was working with the woman, I was sharing the story about how, okay, we have to start building some different habits here, because you can't be this different version of you by still doing what you're doing now. And that sounded scary at first, because sometimes when you think of that, you think of, oh my gosh, I have to do this whole overhaul. It's like, no, what's the fucking first step? What's the first step? And for her, it was just looking, okay, how can we make meal planning a little bit easier? And there was some things that she absolutely was like, I don't like this, but it's like the number one thing that is good for you, meaning like a protein. And I'm not going to give too much information away. So that's why I'm being a little sus about it. But I didn't make her do that. I was not like, well, we just have to just suck this up and you just have to do it. No, because this is step one. Maybe in 6 weeks from now, I can be like, all right, girly, we are adding this in, because you don't hate it. You just hate preparing it. And we can do that. But that's not going to be the first thing. It is find the easiest, most doable thing and do that. The least scary of it all. And do that a while. And just work on just knowing that this is a process. You're closing the gap. Maybe even just talking to a new person is a little intimidating to you. But just doing it slowly. And maybe it's you have another friend who you can bring with you to, I know I already talked about dancing, but I had a friend come and do a dancing class with me, because that was something at one time I was like, I really want to do this. And then it changed and I'm not doing it. But I brought a friend with me because it was intimidating going to a new class. So maybe get somebody that, is up for anything, just to sort of get you kind of through, like, over that hump a little bit. So if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, yeah, this is 100% me. First thing you're going to do is just maybe the realization of, yeah, I have these goals. I have these things that I would like to be doing, and I am not there. So kind of looking at who in your life aligns with how you want to be. Can you spend more time with them? But kind of doing an audit of who are you spending time with? What kind of habits are you spending time with? Because if you're wanting to be, stronger, but you're spending 0 minutes lifting shit, you're not going to get stronger. So how can you start looking at where are you spending your time? And then how do you want to spend your time? Pick something and start small. Again, if you scroll back, I have so many podcasts on starting things and starting small, but pick something, the kind of least scary of the options, and just start. Tell somebody. It's super important to voice that and tell just a trusted person if you're choosing to do this on your own, or get somebody like me, a coach or a group or something, and do it with them. And like I said, I've had coaches, I've had business coaches, I have had health coaches, I have had, I'm now hiring a baking person, not for a long time, but just as like let me know what the hell I'm doing. There's all sorts of people out there who know what they're doing and in their craft that can help support you. Look out there for somebody who can kind of walk next to you in whatever this journey is. Find a way to keep track of what you're doing, whether it's, I'm a big fan of timers on your phone, or some people like a visual, like a chart or like a habit tracker. You can track whatever your progress is. And when you start to do all of those things and put them together, it will get easier and easier. That gap will start to close and you will feel so much more confident. And also, you're going to be so proud of yourself because you're doing the things, you're becoming the person, you're hanging out with the people who are more aligned with who you are wanting to be and kind of living the lifestyle that you want to be living. All right. I am going to go tend to my bread. Hey, I think I did a really good job on keeping this like short and sweet. I'm going to go make my bread. I'm going to do my carpool. I hope that your summer is going, if you're listening still in the summer, it's going to come out in the summer. I hope it is great. I hope that, I really do. I hope that all good things are coming your way and that you are able to set your life up in such a way that you have things to look forward to and that you're hitting your goals. And if you're not hitting them, that you can figure out how the fuck to hit them. Right? All right. Have a fabulous day. Thank you again for listening today, and I will see you next week.
Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.